Hi guys, this is gsn.com and I'm here with a review of the Motorola Moto G34 5G, the most affordable 5G phone launched by Moto in 2024 and the most affordable Android 14 phone I've ever tested. Now we're dealing here with a device which is priced at just 130 euros. It has a good looking backside, it comes with a leather imitation back, and also it features some impressive functions when expected from this price tag, especially the ready for productivity. I wasn't expecting that here. Plus stereo speakers, FM radio, there's even an audio jack, microSD card slot, 50 megapixel main camera, and a large 5000 mAh battery with a charger in the box. Now, when everything said and done, this is an entry-level phone which behaves like a mid-range handset in most aspects. Now, first of all, we talk about the design. So once again, the device has a leather backside imitation and a beautiful looking camera module, which you wouldn't expect from a handset which is so affordable. It measures 8 millimeters in thickness, it has a plastic frame, and weighs 179 grams. It's decently built, I would say, even though it has the typical very skinny Motorola buttons on the side. It's a bit long and wide, but not in an exaggerated fashion, I would say, so it's still decently comfortable to use with a single hand, as I'm doing right now. It has a flat frame, as I said before, helping with the grip, and inside its box you'll find a case which protects it, and since it's transparent it lets you see the beautiful color here. Now, aside from this color here, there is also blue and black, and this is supposed to be green, unless someone else calls it blue. Okay, so that's about it as far as the design is concerned, and only the big chin would give it away as being a more of an entry-level model. Now, as far as the screen is concerned, this one is an IPS LCD. It's actually a 6.5-inch IPS LCD with a resolution of 1600 over 720 pixels and a 120 Hz refresh rate. Now, it's time to see what this display can do, and we go here and show you this typical test clip. Okay, so the panel seems to be quite a quality one, especially indoors. The bezels don't bother me that much. The colors are a bit tame, it's no OLED for sure. The view angles are not bad for the price you're paying. The contrast isn't that impressive in a very sunny day. So overall, a decent panel, I would say, for the price. Not the worst LCD display you can get for this money's worth. Which is also confirmed by the test we did. So yes, we go here and we achieved 330 lux units, which means it's definitely no record breaker, but it's also not a bottom part of our tops. So it's above the Honor Magic 4 Lite and above something like the Realme 8i and the Moto G60, for example. It's above them, but also below the Moto G34 Power and below the Poco X3 NFC. Just a few examples of higher placed phones when it comes to the brightness. Now, if you go here and go to the display section, you have quite a few settings, including brightness. There's also refresh rate, which can be tweaked from here to auto, 60 or 120 Hz, plus colors, which can be set to natural, saturated, and there's a color temperature slider as well, plus a few extras. Now, going further, we're going to have to address the CPU, and it's very familiar. We've seen it before. Snapdragon 695 5G from Qualcomm. Also on the likes of the Motorola H30 Neo, the Redmi Note 11 Pro 5G. It's a 6nm processor of the octa-core variety with an Adreno 619 GPU. It's also accompanied by 8 GB of RAM and 120 GB of storage plus microSD, and the phone doesn't suffer from overheating, and I also did not notice any sort of throttling and problems like that. So yeah, we do have screenshots for the device. This is the throttling test, and as you can see, no CPU to thermal throttling was detected. But then we go further and we also have some benchmarks for it, and here they are. This is Antutu 10, where we are placed above the Moto G14 and the Nokia G22, but also below the Oppo A98 and the Moto G54 Power. In Geekbench 6 multi-core, we are above the Redmi Note 12 5G and above the Realme C55, but below the Oppo A98 and the Moto G54 Power. When it comes to the GPU, we have the 3D Mark Slingshot Extreme ES 3.1, which is here, where we surpassed the Moto G82 and the Motorola H30 Neo plus the Nokia X30, but we are below once again the Oppo A98 and the Redmi Note 11 Pro 5G. Realistically speaking, this phone is more like a mid-ranger from 2 years ago. That's the performance we're going for here. And temperature wise, you shouldn't expect any problems because things were below the 40 degrees Celsius mark. There's around 30 degrees Celsius. Well, when it comes to the battery, we have a pretty hefty one, 5000 mAh, with a 20-watt charger in the box, and we're supposed to reach 30 watts of charging maximum here. And these are the times we achieved. So this is the video playback time. It says here 12 hours and 30 minutes, which felt like too little, and actually redid it. I did the test again, and on the second time running, it showed me 14 hours. So I'm going to take that one into account. With the 14 hours, we surpassed the Moto G14 and the Realme C35, but we're below the Redmi Note 12 5G and the Realme C55. Honestly, I was expecting a bit more here, to be honest. In the PC mark, things are a bit better, with 10 hours and 54 minutes. This is a better value. It's above the Honor Magic 4 Lite and above the Nokia X20 5G, but below the Nokia G22, which is also entry-level phone, and below the Moto G54 Power, which was supposed to be a sort of a battery phone. The charging to 100% is quite long, 1 hour and 48 minutes. And after 30 minutes, you're at 35%, while after 1 hour, you're at 69%. So yeah, the continuous use is probably the best aspect for the battery. Now, as far as the acoustics are concerned, we have stereo speakers here and even audio jack. There is a one bottom speaker, there is the audio jack here, and the other speaker is at the top side in a slit above the screen. Now, there's even FM radio here, believe it or not, so yeah, FM radio checks out. Now, let's get to a test of what the speakers can do. The volume is all the way to the max. Okay, so what we're dealing with here is a pretty bombastic sound. I don't know if you can hear it, but in my experience, when listening to music and playing games on it, it can become deafening and even a bit distorted, so it's best to turn it down a bit and tone it down a notch. And luckily we have quite a few settings to do that, so you can go to the Moto app, go here, Dolby Atmos, and there are quite a few presets to play with. Spatial audio including smart audio, music, movie, game, podcast, custom, and custom includes extras for treble, boost, vocal, and other extras in the equalizer section. Okay, so my impressions. The bass is, I would say, decent. There's also a decent amount of treble, okay voices, but there's a bit of distortion going on here and there, especially when the volume is turned all the way to the max, or, well, one would even say past the max, if you can imagine that. But all in all, for a stereo speaker setup on an entry-level phone, things are decent. Okay, so when it comes to the volume power, we did an acoustic sample test and we achieved 84 decibels at the top speaker and 88.7 decibels at the bottom speaker, which means that we were able to surpass the likes of the Redmi Note 12 5G and the Galaxy A34, but we're below the Realme 9i 5G and below the Nokia X20 5G. That's the acoustic sample test. This is the gaming test with a pretty satisfying 100.2 decibels, above the Galaxy A34 from Samsung and above the Redmi Note 12 5G, below the Realme 10 4G and below the Oppo Reno 4 Lite. We're pretty much done with the acoustics now. We can talk about the cameras. In a hole here in the screen lies a 16 megapixel shooter with Full HD capture, video capture of course, and f2.4 aperture for your selfie needs. At the backside, the beautiful camera module, which hosts two sensors. One is a 50 megapixel shooter with f1.8 aperture and face detection autofocus. The other one is a mere 2 megapixel macro shooter. Then we have the LED flash and well, only Full HD capture, but you probably expected that. Typical features from Motorola include the dual capture spot color and so forth. Now we have quite a large gallery here of photos to go through, so let's actually start covering it. It's actually a two-part gallery and we have a lot to unpack. Okay, so first of all, the first part of the gallery is taken by my colleague, which I have to thank, and he's focused more on textures and close-ups. And the phone really handles these textures well, that much I can see. Okay, and the daytime images are pretty well lit. That's what I noticed here, and the colors tend to be a bit colder and more realistic. not exactly hugely vivid. That's another thing I noticed. Well, at least that was my first impression. And by the way, a very nice natural blur effect of the background, highlighting the Moto in the foreground here. I said before that the colors are a bit cold and understated, till I saw this. They're actually more intense than perceived with the real eye. They feel like the phones from a few years ago, which used to take very intense colors in shots, but nowadays you have color profiles to customize them. So yeah, colors will be unrealistically intense, but some people tend to enjoy them more like that. These are the selfies. For the price you're paying for the phone and for the selfie camera, I would say they're fine. I'm seeing hairs here and pores. I'm seeing a lot of texture and detail on the selfies, so that's fine. And I even think we have a bokeh, yes, to show the separation from the background, which is pretty well done. I have my very own selfies a bit higher in the gallery here, so let's also see those. Okay, a few more selfies here. As you can see, there's a texture here from all sorts of imperfections, scars on the forehead and things like that. And this is the bokeh, which doesn't miss much from the hair and doesn't blur too many hairs out of place. Okay, we covered colors, we covered selfies. Let's see what else. I truly felt the need for a ultra-wide camera at times, perhaps when the scenery was very large in front of me and we couldn't capture enough of an angle of it. But yeah, at least we have the panorama to replace it. Don't expect too much from the zoom. We don't have a telephoto camera here. In general, the pictures were decent for a 50 megapixel camera. I would say that you can feel you're using sort of a Motorola Edge phone, but decrease the quality by about 20%. The close-ups are actually quite fine. We also have some macros, and as you can see, they're not bad at all, but I have a tendency to enjoy close-ups more than macros taken with this handset. And once again here, a few more colorful shots of graffiti. This was a colder day. You can see that the colors are a bit less intense, but you're getting plenty of texture for architecture, as you can see here in all sorts of buildings. There's also a slight degree of lack of clarity for the objects in the background, showing us that this is truly a more entry-level affair than a mid-range or high mid-range phone. But hey, you're getting those intense, memorable colors, right? Honestly, I would have preferred a ultra-wide camera here instead of the macro one, but at least you're getting some solid close-ups out of the, well, main one. These have been the daytime photos. Now let's swap to the nighttime photos. Okay, so first rule here, only use the night mode. Without the night mode, things aren't impressive. You get shades of weird yellow, purple and things like that. But with the night mode, things are actually quite decent. Objects are more clear into place. For example, this is not a usable photo to post online. This actually is a usable photo to post online. And it also happens here, here, and here. This actually seems like a good photo until you properly look at it and see that the lights here are exaggerated a bit. This one equalizes everything and makes you see the graffiti here in a more clear fashion. So yeah, night mode does wonders. Here you can't understand anything from the subject. This is not a flash, this is just night mode being cool. Okay, and here you cannot read anything on this logo, but now you can, courtesy of the night mode. So yeah, stick to night mode and you'll be fine. There are some instances where you are not able to tell that this is a lower priced phone. So the camera delivers, although it has its limitations every once in a while when dealing with a lot of light sources which generate reflections and things like that. So in general, night mode will save you from telling or not telling it's a mid-range or entry-level phone. And now let's talk about video capture. Okay, so here we are with the video captures taken by this phone, and I have to say one thing. We've taken quite a few videos that test the stabilization. This is one of them. We're ascending a bridge, and believe it or not, the phone does not have optical image stabilization, and even so, it delivers when it comes to stabilizing this clip while walking around, this filming. Okay, we have more. For example, we have a test here, which it's all about the focus on an object and then on the background, alternating very fast between them, and it's passed with flying colors. And here we have a color test. The colors are intense, just like in the photos, but not as much as in the photos, I would say. They're a bit more tempered. They will appeal to people who prefer more vivid colors. Okay, and we should also have a selfie video or two. It's no vlogging material for sure, but the face is pretty expressive, while the background isn't much to look at. This one is a panoramic video. For Full HD, I would say we're getting a decent level of detail. So all in all, not bad for 130 euros. Those have been daytime videos. Sadly, during the night, it does show its limitations, like, for example, this one here. This is a stabilization test. It's not bad, to be honest, but only when it comes to stabilization. When it comes to details and colors at night, things get a bit less impressive. So if you're going for this one, it may be more relevant for you. The lights are a bit overblown. There are some reflections and noise. So yes, there are limitations which are inherent to the format and the price and the optical features. But color me impressed by the stabilization. Okay, so going further now, we're going to talk about connectivity. This is obviously, as the name says, a 5G handset with a dual SIM setup. It has Wi-Fi A, B, GN, and AC. It has Bluetooth 5.2, GPS, Galileo, GLONASS, BDS, and QZSS. It also comes with NFC for your payment needs. At the bottom there's an USB-C 2.0 port and an audio jack, plus FM radio. Okay, so yeah, the calls are loud and clear, and we also did a bunch of speed tests, so let's see what those have revealed. So we go here, and speed tests are here. These are actually the Wi-Fi ones. We also have the 5G one separately. So when it comes to Wi-Fi, the highest we achieved was 250 megapsecond downloads over 321 megapsecond in upload. Okay, and next up, as I said before, we also have 5G, which is here. Okay, exiting this one. When it comes to 5G, we have reached a maximum level of 284 megapsecond in download and 60 megapsecond in upload. I've seen better, but once again, it's still an entry-level phone. Don't go expecting the sky from it. Now, when it comes to the software, I actually have a lot to talk about. I mean, maybe more than the other sections. It's clean Android 14 with some Motorola involvement. Clean, I mean stock. We're using gestures here. For example, you can access recents with this gesture. You got your back home, your back and your home swipes. We got the home screen here with the news. We got your collection of widgets, which are stock, plus a few Moto ones. Only small contributions related to the, well, time and weather, basically. Got the drop-down section for the notifications and quick settings. So far, nothing out of the ordinary, but the Motorola involvement happens in this folder. First of all, Moto. So the Moto app lets you personalize the experience with a bunch of wallpapers, themes, fonts, icon shapes, colors, display size and text size, layout, sounds, and dark mode. There are the gestures, quick launch, sidebar, quick capture, fast flashlight, 3-finger screenshot, lift to unlock, flip for do not disturb. There's Moto Secure with quite a few features, more than expected for this price. Secure folder, phishing detection, network protection, as well as pin path scramble, which basically doesn't show the pin as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It changes the order so people cannot look over your shoulder and remember the pin. Display features as well, lock screen and attentive display, and of course there are even some Dolby Atmos settings, which you saw before, and some gaming settings, including a sidebar which will appear once you play a game and even let you tweak the performance and record videos and block calls and gestures. But wait, there's more. There's also Moto Secure, which you already saw. There's Family Space. You can create a profile for the elderly or the children with a different set of apps, settings, and size of the icons. There's Moto Unplugged, which is a way to basically disconnect from distractions and only use a few apps like messages, like contacts, and just calls. That's it. No more WhatsApp, no more Facebook, no more problems. A basic way of using the phone for 30 minutes to unwind. And then we have Ready For, with the option to connect to the PC and turn this phone into a webcam, a hotspot, do some app streaming, app mirroring. You can use a mobile desktop experience. You can exchange PC and phone files directly. You can do the file transfer from here. manage files with the File Explorer. You can lock the PC via the phone and use a smart clipboard. And then we also have Moto Connect, which basically is searching for a display right now, display or TV set, so you can expand your experience, do some video calls, gaming, and even a sort of a simulation of Windows with a mouse and keyboard attached to the phone and to the display you're using. Okay, so that's about it. I wouldn't say there's too much bloatware here, even though we have a few games pre-installed. I see there's also Opera installed, and yeah, that's about it. I don't think we've missed anything, except for, you know, the settings, which I'm sure you've seen before on other Android phones, including digital well-being and parental control, system updates, and by the way, for security, you have a fingerprint scanner in the power button, which I'm just pressing and unlocking in a decent manner. Now, it's verdict time, so we can definitely start with the pros and cons. Okay, so on the pro side, the design is looking good. The performance is okay for 130 euros. We got Android 14 with all those cool Moto apps, including productivity, which is a bit of a surprise, considering that people don't expect productivity from entry-level phones. We got a loud audio, which may matter for some people, stereo speakers, audio jack, micro SD. There's also a bundle charger, and aside from that, FM radio, which people still care about. What else? 120 Hz refresh rate is important here. The price is quite low, and the cameras, I would say okay, particularly the main camera, the stabilization, the selfies, close-ups, and the night mode. Those are the pros. Now, on the cons, the screen is not as bright as you'd want it to be, especially outdoors at times, on a sunny day, for example. Then I would have expected a bit faster charging. HD resolution doesn't cut it now for the screen, we need full HD. A bit more video playback time would have been nice for the battery life. There's some distortion for the speakers at the top volume, and I would say that the video capture feels a bit limited. Only full HD and not many extras aside from stabilization. The nighttime pictures without the night mode aren't impressive, and well, that's about it. There aren't many drawbacks here, if I'm being totally honest. Once again, for the price you're paying, this would be an excellent second phone to use, or an excellent first phone if you're a youngster on a budget or the elderly, but I'm trying to understand what Moto is trying to sell here with these productivity features. Is there a world where productivity matters if you're on a budget? Be sure to tell that in the comments. It's still good news because the features from the previous flagships and mid-ranges from Motorola are now trickling down to more affordable phones. That's always a good piece of news. And more features is always something better than less features. Also Android 14, which you can't find even on pricier phones. So yeah, in the end, you're treated to a phone with a decent main camera, a rather solid screen when used indoors, a performance I have nothing to object about, a good looking design, and at the same time loads of productivity features which you wouldn't expect on a handset like this, and a clean Android for sure. So yeah, and loudspeakers, don't forget about that, plus 5G. This is the review of the Moto G34 5G, and we'll be back with more pretty soon. Goodbye.